The purpose of this video is to show you the expectations for stories when you're reading them, and you have a story and a column which has questions or places for you to mark the text. We will be reading quite a few of these stories, and I hope that you will be able to do this activity the way it is set up. That's going to be a work in progress. Normally I give these out in paper and you actually mark the text. We're going to see how this works, and hopefully everybody will be able to complete these activities. I feel that the more you interact with the text, the better you will be able to understand that text. So the purpose of this is then to go ahead, and the first thing that you want to do is to look at where it says activate prior knowledge. In the far right corner in the top here, it says, what have you heard or read about wolves? So the purpose of this is to kind of figure out what your knowledge is, what your knowledge base is about wolves, because this story is about wolves. So here I could write something like, I know, and notice that I'm writing in red here, that wolves are related to dogs and they howl. There are a million right answers for this. As long as you have something there. Maybe you don't know a lot about wolves. Maybe you just know that they're an animal. Maybe you know what they eat. Maybe you know that they're, they travel in packs. So whatever you put in there, I'm not necessarily looking for correct answers here. I'm just looking for you to be pulling some information that you already know that you can apply to reading this story. So then we will scroll down here, and you're going to see a pencil. When you see a pencil, that means that you're going to have to mark the text in some way. Again, we can't actually take a pencil and write on our iPads, but what we can do is we can highlight and underline. So this is what we're going to do. The literary analysis question says the setting of a story is the time and place in which events take place. The time might include the season, the time of day, and historical era. The location may be general, like outer space, or specific, like a particular street. The weather is also part of the setting. So the first task here says highlight the words in the first paragraph of the story that tell you where the story takes place. So now we're looking for location, okay? There's a couple things that you could put here. You could maybe only find one. A big one here is Arctic Valley. So we know that this is occurring in the Arctic Valley. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to go up here to the highlight tool, and I'm going to highlight it yellow. Okay, let's try to keep with yellow. That way Mrs. Mel doesn't get confused. Somebody's using purple and somebody's using yellow and somebody's using green. Just makes it easier for me when I go through to grade these. Okay. Also, Toklat Ridge is a place, a location. You could also have that highlighted. Okay. So anything that would be related to location here. Okay. So that's highlighted as well. So there, we have highlighted the words in the first paragraph that shows us where the Arctic Ridge the Arctic Valley on Toklat Ridge is where this is happening, where this is occurring. Underline the details that show that the wolf is in a mountain range. So what are the details here that lets us know that the wolf's in a mountain range? Well, the author writes that there's a massive spine of rocks and ice. That's a pretty big clue, right? So those are some details that lets us know that this is kind of like a mountainous area. So we're going to underline this, okay? Then we're still looking. Is there anything else there? Well, it does say that dawn strikes the ridge. So it does talk about a ridge. So you could underline this in either place, here or up above. So you could technically have something underlined and highlighted there, okay? So a ridge is typically part of a mountain range, okay? So that's how we mark the text. Now, inevitably, what's going to happen is you're going to probably maybe click on something. Maybe you'll make a mistake. Maybe you'll accidentally delete something. Oh no, I deleted some of the text. Now what? Well, that's okay. There's a little arrow up in the top left-hand corner, and it's a undo arrow. So all you do is you hit the undo arrow, and that will help you to undo what you didn't want to do. So maybe I didn't want to highlight or to underline ridge in that first paragraph. So I'm going to undo that, okay? And maybe I wanted to underline this ridge instead. And I can do that, okay? So like I said, if something happens, which I'm sure it will, I'm sure things will get erased accidentally from the text because like I said, this is not on paper, this is on the iPad. That's okay. Use your undo button, do the best that you can, and if you get stuck, you need to contact me. If something bad happens and lots of things disappear, then you just contact me and I will help you out with that. All right, so as we're scrolling down here, we're down now to the third thing that we need to do on this page, okay? This is the reading check. What has happened to Rocco? Remember, we are going to be rereading this as we're answering these questions, okay? So you might want to reread the whole page and then start answering your questions, okay? So what has happened to Rocco? And if you remember from our first reading, we know that he was wounded, right? He was wounded specifically by a caribou. Was wounded by a caribou. He has become separated from his pack. Sorry about my typing here. I am not good at doing this on the iPad. All right, there. So this is what a completed page looks like on a reread. When you're rereading it, you do answer that activate prior knowledge question. You can do that before or after the reread. It doesn't really matter. But the big pieces are, we're looking for those pieces, the setting pieces. And on each page, you're going to see questions referring to the setting, okay? So that's why we're reading the story. It's going to help you to understand the importance of setting even more. So this is page 2. There's a place, of course, where you're going to have to mark the text. You see the pencil there, okay? There's a couple of other questions there. And then page 3, again, you'll be marking the text. You'll be answering a couple questions here. And then the final page is very tiny, actually. There's one question on the side, but then this is where it gets a little bit different. At the bottom, there's a reader's response question and thinking about the skill question. So the reader's response question is actually 2 different questions. There's a yes or no answer. Do you admire the wolves in the story? And then why or why not? So just make sure if there's 2 parts to the question, you are responding to both parts, okay? Thinking about the skill, that's what they're going to be asking you about specific parts of the setting in relation to the problem here. Okay, so again, this is going to be a challenge. I've never done this way with students, only ever on paper. So we'll see how this works. If you run into trouble, please contact me, email me right away, and I will, do something to help you out. And don't forget, when you're finished, when you're completely done and everything is answered, all the questions are answered, okay, you will submit your assignment, okay? And once it's submitted, then it'll be shared directly with me. You don't have to share it with me. It'll automatically be shared with me, and then I can go ahead and look at your responses and give you feedback, okay? All right, well, enjoy the second read of The Wounded Wolf. I'll talk to you soon.